Yes.
We can do it, yeah.
Oh, there we go. Hold on. There we go. Now we're good. Okay, Ripley is going to make an appearance in the podcast.
Yeah, that works. I mean, we can even have it starting this way because dogs never understand or respect podcasts.
Yeah, they have no idea.
Or any recording.
They have no idea what's going on.
Simple-minded creatures.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Oh, good old Ripley. Well, cheers. Here's another...
God, this is always going to be a thing. Why do these stick?
I don't know. These are my brother's... let me fix the mic. My brother's wife. I literally almost forgot that. I think my brother's wife and my niece, Aurora, they made these. We have
just kidding. No.
I mean, if you actually look at it, it's basically just a piece of tile.
Great. Yeah.
With a print. They made it themselves. So instead
That's a beautiful
of
idea. Yeah, I'm not trying to critique it. I just for some reason all my beverages stick on the bottom.
Well, to everyone out there, there we go.
Welcome.
I got a beer. You got what? Coffee?
I got a coffee.
There we go. Well,
you know.
Yeah.
To each their own. I just need a little more pep to my step.
Yeah. We have the microphone here.
Yeah, this is a deceptive microphone, but
it's deceptive.
It gives you an idea.
Yeah. Hey, where do you want down? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so what? Episode 2.
Episode 2 here, yeah.
Artistry Under Fire.
Artistry Under Fire.
Last time or last week or last episode, we spoke pretty much how...
Well, we kind of gave intros to ourselves.
Intro to ourselves and how we entered things.
Yeah, sort of a thing, yeah. And this one, I guess... Well, yesterday I was talking... I don't know if we wanted to continue with the theme of what happened yesterday. We were sort of on a discussion about how... me and you, after we filmed that movie, I moved to Los Angeles, and then you ended up moving to down here to Orlando, Florida. And,
yeah, like a year after you left.
Yeah, like a year after I left, and
yeah.
I was bound and determined to be the next Spielberg, Scorsese, Stanley Kubrick. That was me.
Right. And I guess my hopeful wishes was just because you were in California when I had all my friends die that one summer, right?
Yeah, no, dude, when I moved, I had no intention of ever leaving.
LA?
Yeah, I had no intention of ever leaving.
But I was trying to think of the time frame when it happened, but yeah.
But we kind of lost touch we didn't really talk for like a couple, 2-3 years. It wasn't until COVID happened.
Right. I don't know if it would flat out be considered not talking at all, but yeah, I guess.
Text here and there.
Text here and there.
It wasn't until COVID. I mean, I moved there in 2018, and then COVID happened, and then I think it was like halfway through COVID we started FaceTiming.
Right, and that's when I was doing more because, well, to get the point in for the story thing is that, like, yeah, I had a couple friends pass at different times in one summer when I was in Ohio, and I guess at the time I didn't really have.
Were you still
artistic?
Were you still in Ohio when they passed, or were you?
Yeah. No, I was living there. Yeah. It was just the same thing of everything because my dad passed.
Yeah. You had a rough stretch of.
Yeah, it was a rough stretch when I moved back from Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. It was a rough stretch. Damn. Because I was gonna say I was having a rough time in Chicago mentally.
Yeah.
Then came back to Ohio to, kind of like be home, try to save some money, make some money.
Trying to figure out the next move.
A lot of things happened. Nothing really kicked off. Not that I was even trying that hard. It just, man, what was I even doing? I think I did some guest stuff when I moved home for like the academy, and I did some things here and there, like a stage reading.
Yeah.
Just general things, but yeah, I moved down to Orlando because my brother and now sister-in-law were living down here and said that they had a room available, and I was like, you know what, Florida and a new beginning sounds good. I'll go down there and it's time to start focusing on acting. And to kind of circle around, I was doing some shorts and had some projects and even some student films. Kind of had a good ball rolling, and then the pandemic, COVID hit, shut everything down.
Same thing with me.
Fucked up my finances and shit, and but then we were talking, because even when we were talking, I was kind of in the middle of doing some projects here and there.
Yeah.
When we were talking, so yeah, but the whole point being is that somehow, you guys moved over here.
That was kind of, again, this, I guess, like what we were talking yesterday is whether or not we believe in fate.
Right, yeah, I was about to say,
or if anything,
we talk for 20 more minutes about the details of
I guess
the theme,
the conversation that we had yesterday, we went to the beach yesterday, first time he's gone to the beach here in Jacksonville.
Which I feel like I've been to the Jacksonville beach.
But the first time since you've moved here.
Here, yeah.
Yeah, but we sort of were on the discussion of how, I don't know, we were just talking about how went our separate ways, and then we somehow found ourselves back together, and it was by no plan.
Hey, dude, wouldn't it be great if we both lived in Jacksonville?
Yeah.
I don't think that sentence would have ever came out, and I don't know.
And so was it by pure coincidence that this happened, or was it by fate, or was it a combination of two, or what?
Yeah, right.
I'll admit, over, I don't know, when by the way.
Oh, yeah.
We still have, so this is artwork before we continue. So, on his side, we're always going to have a piece of artwork from him and myself, Derrick and myself. This is Derrick's artwork, which I did purchase from him.
Yeah.
And then this is Derrick, a picture I took in St. Augustine of him smoking a cigarette on the side of a building. That's probably, 300-400 years old?
Was that no, okay, yeah, probably. That wasn't the oldest building.
No, that wasn't the oldest
But that
building.
was kind of right around that area.
Yeah. But yeah, no.
Yeah.
But back to
that is a question, because I think we were even discussing it. We were probably talking about some sort of movie or this or that, how even sometimes in just to make that theme of fate or destiny in the creating aspect of art.
Yeah.
Is that a real thing? I think it depends when you get the perfect shot and you're like, that wasn't planned, that bird just flew through the sunset at the perfect time.
That's like in Gladiator, that bird in the beginning.
Right. Yeah.
That was not planned. I supposedly, from my understanding, from an interview I saw with Ridley Scott, I think I remember him saying that he basically told, hey, Russell Crowe, do this, that, so on and so forth, look over here. And then Ridley Scott just went down and saw this branch, and all of a sudden he had the camera in his hand or something, and the bird just flew on there, just took a picture of it, and then flew away. And then I think that's when he told Russell Crowe, look there, there's that fucking bird. And that was the beginning.
They put it in there.
And it sounds like, and then at the Oscars, which is such a badass thing, Ridley Scott's supposedly went to Russell Crowe and said we tricked them all, because apparently they started filming the movie Gladiator. They were filming Gladiator with, the sets weren't built completely. They didn't have a finished script. They just started shooting, and they were like, we'll just figure it out as we go. Yeah. And it turned out to be the best movie of the year.
Right.
But that doesn't happen often.
No, right.
But yeah, back to fate. Before I moved to Los Angeles, I was we filmed our movie together. But I'll admit, the way I always thought is, I am the master of my own fate. I'm the reason why everything happens, my choices, everything. And then I moved to Los Angeles, and I started noticing these little things happen. So, when I first moved there, I had a chunk of money, and then after, it's insanely expensive to live there. I thought it's like, oh, it's only going to be a little bit more than Chicago, because
Right, it's like the city life.
I planned out Chicago to the T. I had maybe $500 left at the end of my time in Chicago when I was getting my master's, and I perfectly
were you
map that
you
thing
weren't
out.
working while you were there?
I was working there.
Oh, okay.
I had to work this much, make this much money, and I could last for the 2 years I was there. I was like, okay, cool, I can do it in LA. Let's say it's only like so much more. It was way more. It was way more than I was. My apartment in Chicago was $700. My first apartment, or my studio, was like $1,200.
Yeah.
So out the gate, I was like, shit. I'm already like.
Well, I mean, that's even kind of an aspect of Chicago, as great as it is, us both having lived there in separate times, which is also odd that we have a Chicago connection.
Almost at the same time.
But almost at the same time.
And our schools are right across the street from each other.
Right, yeah,
which is
literally. But that is something about Chicago, is that great city, great things happening in it, but it's like the affordable of the big three.
Yeah.
Because it's not New York and it's not LA. I mean, really, I feel like you can make. I mean, it's its own thing. But
it is.
But
from my understanding, when I was at DePaul, people were telling me that it was bumping in like the 80s, the 90s, early 2000s.
Chicago?
When I got there, when you were there, things were on the decline. That's what when it came to like film production. When it came to film production, it was on the decline.
I mean, I could see that because New York and LA is New York and LA, but like, let's say you're filming something, so much stuff like Cleveland and Atlanta, of them finding cheaper ways to almost get the same shot in
little
areas.
gem towns.
Yeah, and then that does pull away.
Yeah.
In its own way.
Yeah. But back to my story. So like when I first moved there, I think I had like I had 20 grand. I think it was around 20 grand, and moving in and buying like furniture, bed, this, that, so on and so forth very quickly. I mean, just to move across country, that was a ton of money, and it just I think after all said and done, after buying all the shit that was needed, I think I had like maybe maybe $14,000 in my bank account, and I wasn't working at all. And I think it lasted 6 months, and it was like that gone.
Yeah, right.
And right when I needed to get a job to pay rent, I got a job. I didn't notice it at the time. Like I got a job so I can maybe prolong the money a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then I got into a little credit card debt, not realizing, like I don't have that money right now. I used the credit card, so then I had to get a second job. And then when my credit card bill was gonna like ruin me, I got that second job right at the moment when I needed to get the second job. And then when COVID happened, I had started a job with Amazon delivering packages, and right when COVID happened, I was gonna put 2 days before, 2 days after COVID happened. So I was off. So I think it was like March 20th. So I was off for like the next 2 days. I interviewed on the day before at CarMax. I was gonna get. I got a job with CarMax, and then 2 days later I was gonna go into my job with Amazon, and I was like, I'm putting my 2 weeks in. I'm gonna be working at CarMax. The day before was the COVID lockdown.
Yeah.
I think it was like the 20th or 18th or 19th of March, and I was like, holy crap! If I would have put my 2 weeks in, I don't know if I would have had that job. And then that job is what got me and my fiance Teresa through the pandemic. She she got put on furlough, and then she was having issues getting like unemployment. So she's like, I can't work. I'll just. She was going to school at the time. I'll just live off my student loans, and then right when I needed to get a raise, a significant raise, I got promoted to manager. And then ops manager, and then like all these things, every time something that needed to happen happened. And I don't know if it's like we've been talking in the past too, where if you're searching for the answer, or if you just the act of searching, something will appear.
Well,
or
no, what I usually say is, and it's more what I read, which I think is War on Art, is I mean, those are signs in themselves, but what I usually say is that that when sometimes you have these dreams of things you want to do, and you're being like, if I can just be given a sign that this is the right choice or path I should take, sometimes you can just take that moment, that question of yourself asking for a sign, like, something show me that I should go audition for this, instead of waiting for like a text, or all of a sudden you see a flyer in a dumpster or something that is for that audition. Instead of looking for something like that, when you go like, I wish something would tell me to audition for it, you are already telling yourself to audition for it.
So it's like you're manifesting.
Like sometimes the looking for a sign is the sign.
Well,
if you're looking, as far as you're making a choice.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I'm trying to
also,
say. I guess what I'm trying to say is
that like you were given that next inch every time you needed it.
Well, when your back is up against the ropes, and you're like, I have to ask, or I have to ask for the, like, you go into the audition, like you do everything you can to get the audition, get in the room, or like, hey, I need a raise because like I'm gonna get kicked out of my apartment. I need this raise. What do I got to do to get the raise? Or I need this job. Tell me what I got to do to get this job. I don't know if it's that, or it's pure fate, or it's a combination of the two where it happens. Because I'm becoming more and more of a believer that there's some type of, I wouldn't say divine inspiration, but something is almost like it guides you. And then maybe it's your own subconscious telling you this is what it is.
There's many different things you could call that, but it is there. But I mean, some people call it God, or just the universe, or vibes, or whatever philosophical or ideas or concepts you have are there. But there does seem to be something pushing. I feel like my story is similar to yours getting to this point, but way less financially. Like I'm currently, I mean, I'm working on it and making some steps. But when I moved down here, I didn't have any credit card debt. Didn't have any. I mean, I had student loans, but that was fine, and everything was okay. And I have to be honest, I never really learned finances that well, or not even finances, but just how it works. I should have been saving money, but I moved around so much and like in between stuff.
Well, you're trying to figure it out.
Well, yeah, but also like through situations. I mean, this is my fourth place I'm living in 4 years. Mm-hmm. Some faults of my own, some not. And then with each move and things, and like the pandemic, that just like crapped out a buttload of credit debt.
That sort of ruined a lot of things.
I had a chunk of money, and it was like, well, this will be okay. And now I'll always try to have some sort of financial plan if I'm going to a new area. Kind of like coming up this time, it's like, well, I'm not showing up until I have a place of employment.
Yeah.
Because I've learned, like,
don't just show without.
In Orlando, you would think there'd be a million jobs, and like, I mean, maybe a Taco Bell might take you right away, which isn't bad, especially in a pinch or whatever it may be. But yeah, no, even I mean, I guess you could say, I don't know if it's fate and stuff, but yeah, moving out of Orlando, which is more of a personal thing, and then to, finding a place to live. It was just nothing was holding to that area. I mean, I was in a relationship
sort
that
of out of necessity.
ended, and I was looking for another place or whatever. Not that I was using it for a home, but that's a whole other different thing. But that's a lot of layers to all that. But yeah, when you guys mentioned I mean this is helping me, but there is that kind of guidance. Is there fate that it wasn't a wild thing to have me move in? I mean, the fact that we both.
Well,
it's about a 2.5 hour drive, 2 hour drive.
What are the odds? And
it's very doable.
So when we made the decision to move out of Los Angeles,
yeah,
we just had me personally, again, I told you my goal in life is make my own Hollywood.
Right.
And it's not Los Angeles.
Because that's already Hollywood.
Yeah. And,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't know. I just, every day I woke up, I just felt angry. So yeah, and it got to the point where I was like, I just need to get out because I'm no longer doing the things I like doing anymore, like making movies, films, doing photography. But yeah, creative things. Yeah. I wasn't doing anything creative there. So I said, do we need to, and then there was a situation that, with an individual where, I got a little upset. And I was like, you know what, this place, I'm done. And the next morning I woke up and I told Teresa, when you finish school, just apply everywhere. Everywhere. And I actually, and then after that, I literally, I was searching places where to live. Because I didn't want to go back to Ohio. Because if I moved back to Ohio, I would have felt like I was defeated. And just given up.
That's specifically why. I mean, I was talking about, part of the reason why coming up here is at some point, and then it turned not too logical, but it was man, fuck it. I guess I'll just do a couple months in my car. I have a gym membership. I can shower there and this and that. And I got a few friends I can, treat myself and crash on a couch until I get enough money for a down payment and get a plan or find a place. And really, some of the leads I was following with up or hoping for in Orlando, just different routes went different ways for people and stuff, and, which was fine. But why? What was I? With Ohio.
Yeah.
But the safest aspect the entire time was, it could just be time to
go back
to Ohio. But I remember when I left, I'm cutting meat now, and I was cutting meat when I left Ohio. But the company I was cutting for up there, I remember one of my managers, somebody would say they were going to miss me or something and was talking about me moving down here. And he was like, I give it 2 years. He'll be right back here with us or whatever. And he didn't mean it as man, fuck you. But he did. But it also seemed how dare you try to switch things up. Yeah. It's Ohio or nothing. And with trying to find places to live and balancing the idea of going back to Ohio or not. I keep thinking about him, and it's just I don't want to be like so many people I see there who either did go out or just and it's everywhere. It's not just Ohio. I'm not saying Ohio people, but that concept of giving up, going, and just not settling down isn't bad, but settling for something you don't want.
Yeah,
that's not what I want.
That's what my mindset going when we made the decision. We were just going to move back to Ohio if Teresa didn't find a job elsewhere.
Right.
So I told her apply to every state that. So the first one I thought was let's move to Florida because it seemed like from when we were talking, COVID didn't exist. at all.
It
Ever.
did and didn't, right.
It was totally different in California.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't witness.
Yeah.
I mean, other than going to Ohio once or twice.
It wasn't, it wasn't.
During it.
The cost of living in California was insane. At one point, gas got up to like over $9 a gallon.
Yeah,
right before we left, we got up to $9.17 was the gas station, the USA Gas, right next to us. And I was like, this is insane. But I told her to apply. Yeah, she applied to places in Ohio, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee. I think she applied. There was like 6 or 7 states. And I remember looking up one of the days. I was like, and I typed in cool cities to live in Florida. Because I was like, for some reason, like Florida's like calling me right now.
Yeah.
And I saw Fort Myers. And I was like, damn it, like all these things, it's cool. I'm like, dude, let's move here. I was like, dude, let's move to Fort Myers. And she's like, well, I have to get a job. I'm like,
You're right.
I'm like, let's just move.
Yeah.
I got enough money, let's just move to Fort Myers.
Yeah.
And then again, there was that hurricane. When we moved,
yeah, right.
the first week we moved in, there was a hurricane in Fort Myers, so I'm glad we didn't move to Fort Myers.
Yeah.
Another thing. She had, as I said before, she applied to this one company. I forget the company she works for, the name, but they rent her services out to another company, like a warehouse or whatever, to prevent like people, like what's the word I want to use, like workers' comp and stuff like that, to cut costs down. Mm-hmm. And so she applied, and she actually applied to a job that was supposed to be in Orlando. And I was like, "Hey, dude, Derrick, we might be moving to Orlando." She gets this job.
Yeah.
And she ended up having the interview, and she did so well. And they're like, "Oh yeah, I think you'd be a great fit." This and that.
Right, yeah.
And there was another woman in the Zoom. It was a Zoom call, a Zoom interview. There was another woman in there at the same time. All of a sudden, she's like, "Hey, what's going on? I'm here in this interview. Is this like a double interview?" And like, what? And then her name, the woman that was sitting in the interview that didn't say anything, her name was also Teresa. So they contacted my Teresa on accident. Had this full interview while this other lady who was actually applied for this Jacksonville job. Mm-hmm. She was like supposed to have her second interview.
Yeah.
And she was like going to get the job. And then they liked Teresa so much that they gave her the job and said, screw you, other lady. Mm-hmm. And so by fate, we moved to Jacksonville. In Orlando, if she would have taken that job, the company that I think she was working for, like a BJ's warehouse, they got rid of they bought out the contract. So she would have lost her job 6 months of us moving to here. So her having the Jacksonville job, you see, that's what I mean. Like all these things have happened where you're in the right place. You're in the right place. Just keep going down this road. You're in the right place. That's why I keep saying, and now I'm kind of getting a little like amped up here.
Well, right.
All these things just kept happening in our favor, in my favor. And then all of a sudden, I think it was Thanksgiving. You're like, Big John, our friend Big John said,
I texted you guys happy Thanksgiving.
Derrick's living in his car. I'm like, what? No, he can't be living in his car. And so I was like, dude, you can't be living in your car. You can't do that. I can't have a friend living in his fucking car and be a homeless guy. So I was like, dude, what if we fucking move in together? And you're like, well, I think I remember you saying like that'd be awesome,
right?
And then I was like, I gotta see if I can even do this.
Well, because
we just signed our
you said that
lease renewal.
Yeah, and you I forget you mentioned, it was just helping me out, but like you mentioned the rent, the location, the stuff we could do. I don't know. You listed like 6 or 7 things that was just like.
You checked off a bunch of stuff.
Well, this is the fucking answer. Because I was like, I kept worrying, and it was just like, there's only so long you can live in your ex's place until, like, you wake up with a dagger in your chest or some shit. And, like, or you get the cops called to drag you out. Like, either way. So when you said that, it was like, there it is.
And then within a week, we moved into this new place. I think it took you like another 3 weeks to get transferred.
Yeah, I was looking
Like
at
mid-
transfers because what?
Then like I think
Well,
it was
this
like
is what, my second or third week. So yeah, I guess over
mid-January.
a course like a month and a half or so.
it had happened.
It took, but yeah, because it was almost every single week on a day off. I was
Up
driving
here.
up here, dropping something off.
Yeah. And then there was that one time I came down to get most of your
right
shit.
before we left.
The final like move,
and that really worked. Yeah, almost in an opposite way. There does seem. I hope this episode is interesting enough to people.
Yeah.
In the sense, even though it's just our stories leading up to a thing, and we're not really discussing too much artistic stuff, but especially since we're two artistic people and kind of like. I'm an in front of the camera guy. You're a behind the camera guy.
I think people though in art or the creative field, I think fate has to come into play.
Because I feel like I'm almost, I don't know which one is the dark one, the yin or the yang, but you know, you could in a way most people react, not that I've, you know, I wouldn't say I've had a tragic life, but there's moments and shit, just, it's almost like bad things have moved me to different areas.
Yeah.
But good things happen at just the right times that it's a very wobbly, swingy bridge.
It offsets it.
But it keeps it going, and I hope it's not just choppy waters the entire time, because every couple of years somebody dies, or like, you know, maybe a relationship goes awry, or like, you know, even back in the day I was in a car accident and shit. I always felt like it was a 2-year period where something tragic and devastating would happen, and almost specifically I can plot, and each chapter is kind of like, and then this happened, and I lost my shit. And then I started rebuilding, you know, my life, and then this happened, and I lost my shit. Now, if I could just not lose my shit, it'd be a better thorough line, which hopefully, I think by this point, I think I've seen enough. I mean, I haven't seen somebody get their head blown off in front of me.
Yeah.
But I've lost people and, like, lost things and this and that, like, I think I'm more on solid ground now. If I could get the finances to balance up, I think I got a pretty healthy life going.
The finances for me even, because the goal, again, I think both our goals is to be financially free to where the bills are paid and we can do this.
But I don't want to think, exactly. And I don't want to get too much into finances or I'll have a panic attack on camera. Yeah. But what I do think, and what always seems to happen, which I think kind of connects everything we're talking about, is that whenever I decide to start creating again, things start flowing correctly. Because you can't stop people from dying. You can't stop tragedy from happening. Now, I always say...
Or major financial situations.
Yeah, but it's in a lot of self-help books, but it's something I do always like to try to remind myself, is that you're not always responsible for what happens, but you are always responsible to how you react, which is something I'm not good at, so I need to always say that to myself. But with everything going on, and then us wanting, even us as individuals wanting that in our life, it does seem that when you kind of just go, like we say, let's just start creating and see what happens.
Well, like this, even with this podcast,
things start to smooth out a little bit. Or maybe not even smooth out, but maybe having those momentum and having those moments of purpose makes the mundane, it takes away the attention from it. Because when you don't have any purpose, and it doesn't matter what it is, maybe your purpose is just, I want to financially support my family, then any work or job you're doing is fulfilled because you're doing it for a reason.
Yeah.
But if you're just doing a job so that you can pay your own bill, I mean, you have Teresa and stuff, but like, if that's the bottom line, you're going to really hate a lot of some of these other jobs.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But, and then I think, so I don't know if it is fate or if it's just how you're treating your mind and body, that by creating, you are now in a way, not distracted, but that mundane shit you don't want to do, it isn't wasting the mental energy.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm getting it done, and like, you know, you don't want to stand there for 8 hours to do the shit. But you can do that when you know I'm doing something I like for 30 minutes after. And that 30 minutes you think about during that eight hours.
Well, and then
all of a sudden you're alive, you're smiling, you're trying things.
And then it makes
you're a little scared. It's exciting.
It makes that job that you can't really stand that much more bearable.
That much more bearable. And it also you start thinking, well, like, how can I get more time with this? And maybe you start looking at that job as not a ball and chain, but you think about, how do I break that chain, or how do I make that ball work for me?
Or do this.
Yeah.
Where the job's up here, you wanting to do what you want to do is down here, and you slowly over time, it's like this, to the point where maybe, you get rid of that thing altogether and you're only doing this. So I guess it's...
But even if it could just be more this and a part-time this.
Yeah, I mean...
Like the fun stuff.
Because you know you have that's always going to be there, and then this may go up higher or lower, and you never know what will happen. But back to like the momentum, if you just keep... Because I've had issues where I've had stretches of momentum, and then that job comes in and slowly takes away that energy and momentum from it. And so to keep the momentum on the uprise at all times so that you can transition into that as being your life. Because again, my goal in my life is to retire at 45. But I've sort of...
retire from bullshit.
My initial was like, I want enough money to never have to work again. But I'm always going to work. Because when you're doing stuff like this, I mean, it's not work. When you love what you're doing, it's no longer work. It's you doing something. But I'm never gonna stop. I'm never gonna retire. I mean, like you said that other time when you're an actor, I think it was like Christopher Plummer.
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 It's like
you never really actually stop.
Oh yeah, I find us folk in this field like never retire, do we? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is why I always think it's crazy that Daniel Day-Lewis retires. But also, if you do what Daniel Day-Lewis does for every fucking
it's like a
role.
shoemaker, yeah.
Right.
It's like a shoemaker or something.
Yeah, but he was a shoemaker because of that one role, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
I like it.
Well,
Daniel Day-Lewis has never had a thought of his own. It's always been triggered by his script. The man is just crafted by directors and scripts and casting directors. Just kidding. He's a brilliant man.
But that age so I'm 35. 10 years from now, I want to retire. But my new definition, I want to retire by I'm 45. Is the bullshit job. I don't want the bullshit job anymore. I could work to the day I die if I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I could do this for the rest of my life. Just like Scorsese is and Clint
Even
Eastwood.
if you're having sleepless nights trying to get something like this done,
but
you find the energy.
It keeps you alive. It keeps your brain in the right place, and it keeps your ticker going.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Again, I can't stop doing shit like this.
Right.
And like again. This little side story, the movie that made me want to make movies was when I saw The Shining for the second time. When I saw it the first time, I couldn't stand it. I saw it the second time, something clicked. And I'm not really a religious person. I was raised Catholic. I'm not the most religious guy, but that I tell people, like, why is it your favorite movie? It's because it's the only time in my life where I've actually had a religious experience. And what I mean by that is someone else or something else told me I have to do this. So there's that voice in my head telling me I have to make movies. I have to do art. I have to take photos, images, essentially images. So moving images, still images. Doesn't really matter. I have to be doing it. So there'll be moments where I'm like when we moved to Florida, I thought this was done. I was done with it. I was going to put it away. I was going to get a regular 9-to-5 job. And just
That's kind of actually just even like a year ago now, I did have financial stuff, but the girl I was with, like I mean, even when things started or whatever, it was a very, I mean, there's been very bumpy parts, but it was a bumpy point, and honestly, she was somebody, when I started spending more and more time with her, I kind of started feeling like I was seeing a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And I was on and off. Sometimes I was great. Sometimes I was horrible. I was a mess in my own mind, and sometimes that mess in my own mind occasionally came out very messily. Like, and then nobody needs to deal with that. But I kept trying to like settle down into the idea of like, because I kept kind of thinking, and it was mainly delusions, and not the good kind of delusions, but the delusions of like, well, you know, no, I am a really good actor, and like, I could be really good at stand-up, and like, I could sell my paintings while not doing any of it. More just kind of feeling like, I felt like within a span of like 8 months up until like being with her, maybe 5 months, maybe shorter than that. I really feels like I've been down here longer than I was, but I felt like things kept like falling out from underneath me.
Yeah.
As far as like my drive to be artistic, but my dream was still there, but like what I was doing and my efforts into it kept declining. And when my efforts were almost a zero, but my delusions were still up here, it was kind of messy. And then like, she's very smart with like finances and things, and I'm very not. But I kind of went, you know, like in my mind, I went, you know what, I should just really try. And I think I had gotten to a point of being like, let's not do this art bullshit, or like, which was really, let me let go of lying to myself. Either I'm doing it or not. Because not that she never supported me going after any of that, but I was such a mess that like, she would even be like, well, what about this or that? And I'd be like, yeah, well, maybe I got to figure this out first. I wasn't going for what I like to do. And if I was, that mental clarity probably would have been better, and things might have been better.
Yeah.
And I, in my stupid self, was just like, you know what? I'll work. It's not a 9 to 5. Sometimes it's a 4 to 1:30 or whatever the fuck I do. But I was kind of accepting that, being like, you know what? I want to make this work. And maybe if I just shut the fuck up and go to work and come home and try to make this work, like life will be okay. But if you fucking scoop out your insides like that, you're not worth being around. I feel like for a lot of people.
No, I totally
You know?
agree. I totally agree.
So even like you talking about coming up here, I wasn't thinking like when we separated and stuff, and we're on good terms still and things,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like when that happened, it was like, I should get back into acting, or I should start painting more. Even though I did start painting a little bit more afterwards, because I was just like, in that sense, like honestly, it was like I had given up on the art, and then all of a sudden, like it just felt like so much had fallen apart that I just had moments of like, I need to paint. It's like the art came back to save me. You know what I mean?
Well,
and almost like you and like the idea of us creating, it's just like, instead of me being like, I should live in my car, like how do I keep a pulse in my body? You not only helping me with a place to stay, but also that idea of like, moving up here, I feel like half the time I feel like empty and hollow of like, oh fuck. Like with the air mattress, they're like hitting the mattress. Like all of a sudden, like looking in the room, I was just like, I don't have much shit. I don't have a bed. Like, oh fuck. Like I guess this is the result of my actions. Out of, I mean, I'm 32. I was like, this is just the result of 32 years. But then also, we've taken pictures, and we talk about doing these things. We've started doing these podcasts. I mean. And you'll have to help me set up to bring mine back. But I look at it and it's like, well, we've already shot a couple podcasts and the cooking podcast, and it's all of a sudden there's more things to look at. And I've even like pulled up where the comedy places are, and I've started looking at when the open mics are, and it's more progress in 2 weeks than I've done in the last 2.5 years.
It's so funny.
And I'm starting to feel just normally joyful again, hopeful, without being a fucking maniac.
Well, when you start, you're changing your mindset.
Yeah.
When you change your mindset.
Kind of how, Tony Robbins on that one
Theo
podcast?
Von's
He's like, you need to,
you have to physically change your mind, and once you do that, you realize it's not hard at all. But I was gonna say, it's funny, like, as you're talking about, like, and I'm talking the same thing about, because in my head, I have this vision in my head of what I want to do, who I want to be, and it's not the job I'm doing right now. It always goes back to filming.
Likewise.
And so I think if you listen to your voice, or I guess the best term is get out of your own way and just be who you're meant to be. Because you know who you're supposed to be. It's really
you're right. Like there's you feel it in your core.
Yeah.
Like
And then you get a taste of it, and you feel like when I went down and I filmed that show with that guy from St. Augustine that I've been working with for a little while now. When I went down there, when they interviewed me to be the cameraman, the DP, I went in there because, again, my experiences in Los Angeles, I think everyone's full of shit. So I don't believe you until I see it. Or I don't believe you until I actually feel it. Yeah. So they were interviewing me, and I actually was going into it like, okay, I'm gonna just be straightforward and honest. You're gonna get exactly who I am. Because in the past, I used to lie, like, oh yeah, this, that, I'll do that. No, I went into like, yeah, fuck it, I'm just gonna literally be me. Yeah. I'm gonna say exactly what I want to say instead of you go back, man, I should have said this. I'm gonna say exactly what I want to say and give them exactly who I am. And I got the job, but when we went down, because we filmed down in Miami in the Everglades, when I was filming, again, going back. I think, at least for me, when I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing, everything, it's like, you ever see like those, like, the best example, do you ever see the Greatest Game Ever Played with Shia LaBeouf about the amateur golfer that won
No, but I feel like...
I have, it's really good.
Yeah.
One of the golfers in there, when he goes up to the tee, everything around him disappears and all he sees is the fairway. He doesn't hear noise. He doesn't hear the crowd. The wind, nothing. It's just him in the fairway. And when I film, I'm at most peace, even though it's probably the most stressful job for if any other person were to, like, here's a camera, go film. Okay, what do you want me to do? No, it's me in the fairway. I just know, I don't know what I want until I see it. But I know I'm meant to be doing this. And so I guess the hardest part to be, I don't know. I think the hardest thing to do, at least for me, is get out of my own way. Because I have in my brain,
it is that, yeah.
I tend to overthink things sometimes.
Right. Or even sometimes you talk yourself out of stuff.
And you talk yourself out of it.
Where there's that gut instinct, and that punch of like, I want to do this.
Fear.
And then you go, well, no. Well, first I should do this. There's
that fear.
Then you end up never doing
Instead of just taking a fucking grenade and throwing it in the goddamn like hole and blowing shit up. Just go do it. And so I've had enough experiences where I know what I want to do with my life. It's just getting out of my own way. And I think the vast majority of people get in their own way. I think practically everyone gets in their way.
Absolutely everyone. Into some way, shape, or form.
And the ones that succeed more are the ones that get out of their way the most.
Yeah. Or get out of their way the most, but also probably acknowledges it the most.
Yeah.
You know, like...
So it's almost like tricking yourself. Yeah. Whatever I think my rational self is telling me to do, just do the opposite. It's kind of like when
It depends, because
Yeah.
I should listen to my rational thoughts more sometimes. But
mean-
then I also wouldn't have like 3/4 of the crazy stories I have.
Yeah, and those
So
stories,
in a way,
yeah,
and those stories do
could turn out to be like bits when you're doing stand-up.
Yeah, or whatever. Or if anything, it just makes me interesting.
Yeah.
And luckily, yeah. So I don't know. I don't. There's not a. I don't know. That's the thing about life. There's not a right or wrong way to do it.
Well, let me ask you a question,
Yeah.
and I guess people always ask this: if you had to go back and restart, would you change anything, or would you keep it
and
the
I
same?
think we've discussed that before. But I mean, yeah, that many. Honestly, yeah, no, it's no, because there were so many times. There were so many times I was scared or sad. There was mistakes I would change, but there's things that I do think. There's many things that were out of my control that I feel happened that, and maybe I didn't react to them the best way, but I don't want to go through that again. So like I already
having that experience,
having that experience,
you don't want to relive it.
even if I could have done things in a better way to some things that have happened, best timeline still. I'm alive, and those things suck, but those things happened, and who knows? Because if you redo things, how can you stop it? So right now, I wouldn't want to do it because I am still here, and we're talking about a podcast, and we have dreams. So it's always that idea: what if you start over again, and then it ends up even fucking worse?
Yeah.
Almost like, isn't that what happens in Butterfly Effect with Ashton Kutcher?
Butterfly Effect, but then
Every time he goes back, it gets more and more and more fucked up.
yeah, well, that, and then also someone told me, this guy at work, he's a huge fan of Star Trek, and I think they said that there's this episode, Star Trek New Generation, with what's his name, Picard, where he is able to see another version of his life. I don't know. I think it's called Inner Light. So they told the dude, this guy told me I need to watch it, and he said
If it's Star Trek, trust me, you don't. I'm just kidding.
He said it's like arguably the greatest science fiction you'll see. Again, it's a television, low budget.
Right,
Because when I think great science fiction, I think of Alien, Blade Runner, stuff like that. Terminator 2.
Right.
But for television, just the concepts and the stories, just by themselves, he goes back and sees another version of his life. And I don't know. I don't know exactly if it was an event that he took with this and he thinks he should have went that way, but he hates the way it sounds like he turned out. And he said basically would not change anything. Same thing with me. Would I have loved to be financially free, a Hollywood director, and have my name on every billboard of every movie I make in a heartbeat?
Yeah.
But I probably wouldn't have learned the things I know now if I would have taken that path.
Right.
And I would have probably never met, like Teresa, I probably never would have. My original plan was, I dropped out of college. I was planning on going to Los Angeles, and we weren't dating. I never would be engaged. That never would have happened. So what could my life have been? I could have turned out horrible. It could have been horrible because I'm one of those people where when I was in Chicago and I was living by myself, I tend to keep by myself. I don't know why. When I'm out in public and I talk with people, everyone tells me, "Oh yeah, man, like you're always talking, you're always." But then there's stretches that at work, I won't say a word for the entire day, and it's like, is something wrong? Like, no, I don't feel like talking right now.
Yeah.
But then there's stretches where I can't stop.
It
stretches, and maybe I'm just having a bad day, or maybe I'm thinking of something else. Because a lot of times I'm thinking of Like I'm reading constantly. You gave me that one book, and I'm constantly thinking about that book. Tribe. It's a great book. You should read it. It's really good.
Book. I talk about it all
it's
the time.
fascinating. But I tend to keep by myself. And when I was in Chicago, the only person I hung out with was Frank.
Yeah.
And I only hung out with him maybe once every other week.
Right.
So I was by myself all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know why I do that to myself, but I just tend to, I like being by myself for some reason.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I do too sometimes. Sometimes it's just like a matter of like, I need to close the door now. Like,
yeah, and I want to get I want to get some work done because sometimes
work done, or even just like I need to mentally hibernate for a second. Yeah.
Well, because I don't know how you are. Because I've told you that there's times where I feel kind of bad, but like I'm watching like an episode because we're watching Dexter. Sometimes we'll watch 2 episodes a night, but then sometimes it's like, man, instead of watching the second episode, I might be able to get some work done. But then it's like, well, then I'm taking time away from Teresa and I feel horrible.
Right.
But there's always that in the back of my mind. So I guess there's that balance.
There is a balance to it, yeah.
And so yeah.
But I mean, hell, even with your better hours now, that could be a better balance
now
when you only
the
have
sunlight comes out.
so much time with your significant other.
Yeah.
That, you start figuring out what is more important.
Yeah.
And I say, get rid of her, focus on the work. No,
but
loved ones should always come first.
But it's I don't know, I find it fascinating that all these things, again, back to our original theme of this episode,
which
fate.
Might be a good way to.
Yeah, so we're
Perfect way to
hour. Yeah, so going back to do you believe in fate, or is it all you, or whatever? To me, I choose. I choose. What I guess I make the choices. I have the free will. I make the choices, and I live with the outcome. But I think when you have that voice in your head, I think everything is fate to you because you're going towards a goal.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like, especially after talking now, who knows what I would have said in the beginning, and who knows what I'll say tomorrow. But I think as far as fate goes, I feel like there's a broad destination or something. Because I do believe, if somebody has all this potential and then they get hooked on heroin and end up dying somewhere, I don't know if that's fate.
Yeah.
But I think there may be a predetermined purpose for individuals, and I feel like it's only up to you to fuck it up or keep walking to it. But it does seem like it's almost like a funnel or something like that. Like
you're eliminating
when those
choices.
weird things that happen, I feel like there's guardrails being like, well, maybe here, come a little over here, a little over here,
like you're saying,
a little over here, but you can always jump off the bridge if you want and end it.
Well, when you find that purpose or that goal or that reason to feel alive, yeah, like maybe you try a little bit here and then you realize no, and it pushes you right back to that straight line. So like you have that vision at the end, and you're going towards it, and all of a sudden something happens, and you get slightly veered off, kind of like almost like a space shuttle, like going back towards Earth. They're slingshotting back to Earth, like there's that straight line, and if they go off a little bit, they gotta redirect course.
Right.
And so maybe they get and I think that's where those little bumps in the road you learn. And well, if you truly are serious and are seeking the purpose of what you're meant to do, you use that as a way to narrow down to the end goal.
So even when you're like floating in space and it's like, yeah. I agree.
So I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's divine inspiration. spiritual, because again, I've become more spiritual in the sense that not necessarily religious,
Right,
but spiritual.
but almost kind of like I not to be like tacky or something,
Yeah.
but like good vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. If something genuinely feels like a clean, good vibe,
Yeah.
follow it. Because usually, if there's
Yeah.
like there is like a mental traction you can feel when you're like, hey, fucking like bullshit jobs.
Yeah.
You're there, and they just seem like it's like you're going against a current where you're like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And they call you lazy or something if you don't like it. I always get my work done, but sometimes I might do it a little slower, and it's just like, I got 5.5 more hours to kill. Am I a great person if I bust it all out in 2 hours?
Yeah.
And then I stand around for 6? You know, it's so, yeah, I think your body can tell when your body, you can even call it your soul, knows when you're going the right way or going the wrong way.
Well, once you find your calling, I think it's a disservice to your soul.
That's a good.
If you want to use soul, your calling.
If something clicks, you're right. It's a disservice not to.
You have to do it because, and again, I don't want to make this kind of like a bad thing, but there's individuals in my life. I won't say who because I don't want to be. But I've told you there's individuals I don't want to end up like because they didn't pursue, I think, what they truly wanted.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people, and especially not everybody needs to be a fucking art person, but things call to you, whether it's,
and you have to follow it because you don't know. It's only going to end to a good place.
Yeah.
If you don't follow it, you don't know where you'll end up.
Right.
So you have to follow that call.
I think that's what I want. I want to have enjoyable steps to something. I don't want to work my ass off to retire when I'm old.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the way I've been living, I don't know if I'm going to retire. But if that doesn't happen, and it's always doable.
Yeah.
It's doable, but I think life is to be lived in a fulfilled way. That doesn't mean fucking do all the drugs in the world and jump off a building for the highest thrill. But yeah, it's exciting and fulfilling and fun when you're in your lane in a good way. So yeah, who knows if fate works, but when it feels good, do good. Keep going.
I think we end on that.
I think we end on that.
Yeah. So thanks for
tuning in.
I'm Greg.
I'm Derrick.
This is
Artistry Under Fire.
There we go. Till next time. Again, you want?
Oh yeah.
If you're interested about our art, just DM us on Instagram. I'm at Gregory M. Koenig.
I'm at the Derrick Dimension.
And yeah.
Toodles.
Awesome.
Awesome.